You know, with some of these shows and films that are born out of a beloved franchise, there's often that vain hope, perhaps vain, it seems to be quite vain, that at some point somebody somewhere would come in and fix the problems and right the ship, as it were, and perhaps maybe even produce something that's just sort of okay, possibly good, you know? And even if you did that, it would seem like a masterpiece compared to what they'd been doing to it, you know. And, well, lo and behold, such is the case with Star Trek Picard. I mean, this episode pretty much fixed everything. I mean, I couldn't believe it, you know, and I'm like, why is this real? Almost had to pinch myself about how brilliant this episode was, that it really fixes all the problems. And yeah, April Fools. No, it really didn't do any of that. Even though you've got the omnipotent power of Q, but apparently he's sick or something. Who knows? I don't even know whether this is a penance for Picard because of what he did. But it looks like it's Q doing everything, so imagine that. Well, so they did do one thing that was sort of surprising. In that I thought about this, that, could the Watchers have something to do with, Gary Seven and that whole thing? Well, that's exactly what it is. So this woman who looks like Laris but isn't Laris, I guess they'll weave that into something. And then you think, oh, Q's up to no good here again, you know, but... or she'll be some distant ancestor of Laris, so Laris is half human and all that crap. Maybe they'll do that. I don't know. She doesn't have a kitty cat that turns into a sexy babe. See, back when they introduced Book and STD, because he had the cat, and I kept expecting the cat to be a shapeshifter and all that, making Michael Burnham jealous. But those guys had no idea about Gary Seven or any of that. And somebody told them about the Guardian of Forever. And oh, really? Oh. And so they threw that in there and pretty much messed it up. But so here we have this aspect that's pretty much been forgotten about all this time, which was an episode that they did in the original Star Trek that Roddenberry was obviously trying to create a pitch for a spin-off show, which would have featured, the Gary Seven character and his mysterious alien overlords, whom I'm guessing we'd probably never get to meet or what have you, and a young Terry Garr being his little gal pal, and then, of course, his kitty cat who turns into a sexy babe. Yeah, whatever that was about. Well, anyway, so that's what the deal is, and they had, she can teleport around like he did, and she even has the little vault door that goes in through the main teleportation chamber that she has, and so she takes Picard through it and explains that there's a girl that's the key to it all. It's Renee Picard. So this is an ancestor of Picard, and she's in the space program. It's supposed to she's trying to train for this mission to Europa, I believe. I mean, it's only 2024, so that we don't have any plans for a ship. We can't even get to Mars. So I mean, the idea that in that amount of time, no. But anyway, that's the story. So they can borrow from the original story where it was a space program deal, and then the other one where that didn't involve Gary Seven, but it was accidental time travel where they discovered, boy, you could really do this. Well, actually, a previous episode they discovered it, but this one, by accident, the Enterprise traveled back in time, and ended up inadvertently, through a series of events, beaming aboard a pilot, and then they discovered his son would be the astronaut in some special mission that they needed to do. So, kind of the same thing, except it's a special girl. But she has deeply rooted mental problems and disorders. Of course, there's counselors and therapy for people in military and whatnot, but if you're that troubled, you're not going to get in, and you're not going to be in a space program, especially when others will be so dependent upon you. But these shows, they don't know how to do anything other than to say feelings. Whoa, feelings is at the heart of it all. And to hell with reason and, discipline and the ability of training and stuff to know that to not panic. When you're emotional all the time, you're going to panic. And in situations like space travel and military situations, you really can't afford to do that. That's going to hurt you and a lot of other people. So, but that's the way it is. She's a genius, of course. She's, they're pretty much Mary suing her up and all that. But it's, we only see her briefly. And Q is her therapist. So he's messing with her. So apparently the idea is to convince her not to do the mission. And so Picard and the not Laris, I don't know, Laris 7, I don't know what her name is supposed to be. Well, I guess it can't be 7 because 7's there already, so I don't know, Laris 8, whatever. Had figured out, well, I guess we'd better help her not to quit the program. So turns out she's got to go to this gala or ball or whatever it is. It's mandatory for all the members, but only members are allowed in, and they've got all this high-tech security and everything, so they got to get into it, and so they do. But more on that later. So meanwhile, Raffi and Seven are still trying to rescue Rios. They do. Rios and one of the other prisoners beat the living crap out of one of the ICE agents, and then Raffi, I don't know if it was an actual phaser, but it's some weapon that knocked him out, and yeah, whatever, and then release all the prisoners. So now they're guilty of assault and, all that. That's nice. So, and they have no idea who these guys are. They just run away. You're free now. So anyway, that's what they do. And then they get back to the ship. Well, in the meantime, the Borg Queen, whom they decided to leave poor troubled Agnes to look over that, but she doesn't. She's taking a nap in the old dilapidated Picard house. So she's left to her own devices on the ship. So guess what? She calls the police saying, hey, I need help. So a police officer shows up and finds the spaceship. Even though it's invisible, when you flash a light on it, you can see the outline of it. And he's like, whoa, what the hell's this? Apparently they left the door open, so he goes in and gets trapped by the Borg Queen. Agnes comes along, but she's scared, of the Borg Queen, despite being apparently attracted to her. Grabs a shotgun and shoots the Borg Queen in order to save the police officer. And then she's able to beam everybody back in. Picard and, Laris 8 show up, and what's all this? Oh. And they have to erase the cop's memory and dump him back in his car, and he's going to probably lose his job and everything after having a UFO sighting or whatever. Anyway, they say, hey, don't worry, Agnes, she solved the problem. And then they discover they figured that Agnes could get into the security system and override it and get the others in so they can get to Little May. So that's what they do. Can you guess what the big shocking ending is? Have you guessed already? The other story is Prince Spider's back, but now he's, I don't know, great-grandpa Soong, whatever, and guess who his daughter is? Yes, it's Soshi, that special girl. So it turns out that somehow, some way, that DNA was still around, so what are the odds that Data's, I don't know, second or, well, his twin daughters would look like Soong's actual daughter, or Granddad Soong's daughter, whatever, I don't know. But turns out she's got some horrible genetic disorder that makes her like a vampire. She can't be in the sunlight or she'll burn up. And her blood turns to poison if she breathes the air without being filtered and all this stuff. But fortunately, he's got this amazing technology to make a force field. Yeah, in 2024, so we're going to have that by then. Yeah, we sure are. So, meanwhile, Q is messing with this Dr. Soong and offers him the cure for her condition. And he says, and I'm going to want a favor in return. So he's like, well, I'm going to try it. he analyzes it and figures, hey, this might work. So he injects she injects herself because, she don't need no help. She's a superwoman. And then, yay, she could breathe air and go swimming in the pool and get some sun and all that. But it wore off, so she starts dying. He's like, oh! So he's got to get her back in the house. And she's napping on the sofa when Q shows up. And she says, hey, yeah, the cure only worked temporarily, you bastard. Yeah, well, maybe we can work on another one, but you got to help me out here. So whatever Q's up to, it involves this idiot, So there you go. That thought we were rid of her, but we weren't. At least this is a different version of her. And, she's human and all that. But, I don't know. They're giving her some work. I thought they were writing her out of the story because, it's not that great. So anyway, oh boy, what was the big cliffhanger? Well, Agnes was infected by the Borg Queen. Yes, we went back to see what went on in between when she fired off the shotgun, and then the other guys showed up to find the dead Borg Queen, Well, she had the gun on the Borg Queen, and she said, let the officer go, and she says, I'm going to take his body so I can have mobility and leave, but I'd rather have you. You're the one I want. And so she shoots Borg Queen, and then the Borg Queen, while she's gasping and dying, and you'll be all alone. No one understands you like I do. And then Agnes comes forward and looks lovingly in her eyes, and then the Borg Queen strokes her cheek and injects her with some nanobots. So she's basically the Borg Queen now, because the Borg Queen's personality and everything is inside her now. Yeah, that's lovely. So that's the big deal. So now she can see the Borg Queen, but only she can see and hear her because it's all in her head, The crazy murderers. Yeah, they left her in charge with all that. They sure did. But I got to say, she got all dolled up for the gala, and she looked really, really nice, really pretty. That was nice. But that's about it. See, it's not even the woke stuff, because there's not much of it, I guess. All the beating the crap out of the ice agent, I suppose, or whatever. It's just the stupidity. This show is so stupid. So if you're gonna have where it's Agnes is at the behest of the Borg Queen, where you got to come up with plot elements where they're forced to do it. It's some kind of thing. She got stuck with her or something like that. You don't just say, well, you watch over the Borg Queen, Agnes, while I go chasing after this mysterious somebody. No, that's really stupid. But it's a stupid show. Plus, they had, Raffi and Seven arguing back and forth because, they're in love. And, Seven's reminding her, we can't just, be really forceful and destroy a bus carrying Rios or whatever, because we'll screw with the time line or whatever. And Raffi's, you're going to quote timeline rules to me now? Well, that's the whole mission, stupid. And then they sort of do it anyway. They don't destroy the whole bus, but they beat the crap out of the guards and let all the guys out. Well, that's a lot of people who were going to be deported, I guess, in the real timeline, and now they're not. So that's going to change some stuff. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. It's really stupid. It's too bad, because one of the things Star Trek never really deals with is with time travel. Since Kirk and crew did it several times over, one could posit, and it would just be, you would have to craft it around a plot, of course, but the ultimate outcome being that every time they do it, time is changed. No matter how careful sorry, you are, you're causing, ramifications that you did. And these idiots certainly did, But the idea being that the timeline keeps altering and changing as you go forward, and there's not a lot anyone could do about it, and even Kirk and crew wouldn't really notice it. But the idea is like, well, they've already established things like the eugenics war was in the 90s. You can't really do that anymore unless you just say, well, Star Trek's in its alternate universe, and so there was eugenics wars and nuclear exchanges and all that in the 90s. Or it just keeps getting pushed further and further forward because the timeline has changed. And it's something that the temporal Cold War might have dealt with had the Enterprise show survived, but maybe not, I don't know. But it didn't get the chance. just some thoughts on that. So, yeah, just another lousy episode of Picard. I mean, there's been worse, but it's always just sad and stupid.